live, you are live.
Welcome to the Sunset Safari, although there's not much sun about. My name is Nat.Geo Smith, and I have Brian Djuma and the thumb. And it is a bearded thumb today.
It is.
A very, what was it? Hiding ticks or fleas and buzzing bees.
For the fleas and a hive for the buzzing bees.
There we go. So there, and on the other vehicle we have Jamie. Oh, there's a little steenbokkie running through the bush there. We'll just move forward. I think he's just gone behind. You see it, Brian? Just through there. We have Jamie and Genre out. There it is, underneath the log. On the other vehicle, and we have Geraldine and Louise in final control. Now, this is the area where Tingana was last seen. Oh, look at that! A little nose through the gap in the wood. So we just decided we'd come have a quick look. We will probably head back to the Nkuhumas and their buffalo kill a little later on the safari. So Jamie and I are both looking for Tingana. So far, no tracks coming out, so I'm pretty confident he's still in this area. So I'm going to do a little loop around here. And remember, this is a live safari, and you are seeing the animals at the same time we are. So if we start jumping for excitement, it is not feigned, it is real, and it's happening right now. As well as the fact you're more than welcome to ask us questions about what's happening out here. And you can do that by popping us an email, questions@WildEarthTV, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Now, of course, we don't only look for lions and leopards and things like that. We also have a look for birds and buzzing bees, as Brian said, and all sorts of other creatures that might occur in this African wilderness. We're currently on Djuma Private Game Reserve, and this is where we all live as well. We live on Djuma Private Game Reserve. Oh, and speaking of birds, particularly beautiful bird that decided to fly away, but Brian's still got them there, called green wood-hoopus. Old name was a red-billed wood-hoopoo, and they've got a long scimitar bill which enables them to pry under the bark and take out all sorts of little tasty treats. I'm going to sneak forward a bit, I think, Brian. Try and get you a better view. There we go. Oh, he's going into a hole. Now, there's actually a little bird party around here, but let's have a look at the wood-hoopoo first. There we go. Sort of a wonderful iridescent greeny blue, and they get their name from. And a very distinct red bill, which hopefully we'll see shortly. Now, they live in little flocks. Oh, there's another one. Busy little bodies, and they've got to be kept well fed in this dry climate. And we're going through a drought, so the insects are a bit scarce, and they're actually hunting mostly for insect larvae. And we can see that wonderful scimitar-shaped bill. Hoppity hop hop hop. There's incredible claws there. Oh, off he goes. Now, if we go just beyond the line, to the right slightly, and then there we go, you can have a look. There's some white-crowned helmet shrikes as well, another very pretty bird. Also a bird that lives in flocks. And it's not uncommon to find different bird species in a bird party, as it's called. So, although they're all insects, they eat different types of insects. So quite often, they'll disturb insects for the others. So the white-crowned shrikes will catch the sort of flying ones, while the red-billed, name has changed, green wood-hoopus. Oh, there goes another bird, but that one's not going to stop. The green wood-hoopus were looking for the more stationary insects that are living in the wood. Now let's see, if we go very slowly, if we can add another species to our little bird party. I can't really see, I only see the wood-hoopus and the helmet shrikes. There was an emerald-spotted wood dove, but it just flew through, wasn't stopping for a chat. Hi, Susie. Susie says she hopes It's another day of cats. Me too. Susie, we're going to look for Tingana. And if we don't find him now, there's always a strong possibility he's going to pop out later. Maybe around quarantine or Gallagher heading for a drink. So keep an eye on that Djuma dam cam in case that leopard pops up there. And of course, they're on a buffalo kill in Arathusa, so we will go there a little later. And while we scour the western reaches of Djuma, let's go see how Jamie's faring in the centre.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari. Indeed, my name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have Jandre on camera with me. We've recently been nicknamed by one of the children watching us as the Mocking Jays. That was her decision in terms of what we should be called, since Brent and Brian have got the honour of being the killer bees. Right, so Brent is scouring the western region, so are we actually. What we've done is we've just both decided for the start of the sunset drive we're going to be looking for Tingana. We're doing a grid. Brent is doing a box on one side, I've done a box on the other side in terms of where the roads are, and we're both having a look out for Tingana's tracks. But since we haven't had any luck here, I'm going to start moving on and leave Brent to his search of Tingana. He hasn't popped out here, so I'll be able to tell that to Brent, and therefore he'll be able to narrow down exactly where he may be. But yes, some really exciting news coming out of the Sunrise Safari, which of course I was not around for, but it turns out that our speculation yesterday about there being an extra set of Nkuhuma cubs, a slightly younger set, has proved to be absolutely true. Ephraim's suspicions correct. There were 3 more little additions seen this morning. We're going to also go around in that direction. We're not going to go into the sighting at all. We're going to go around in that direction and just see whether or not one of the mothers has moved from the Nkuhuma kill, so the buffalo kill on Arathusa, all the way back to where their little ones are at Buffelshoek Dam. And it's a fair distance actually. It's a good, I would say a good 2.5 odd miles that they're going to have to travel backwards and forwards to feed off that kill and feed off the buffalo. There might even be a chance of them moving the little ones a bit closer to that buffalo kill. But definitely really good news there. I was just going off the road, by the way, to see if there were tracks there, but there absolutely weren't. I was tricked by a zebra. I'm very glad to hear that the Nkuhumas managed to get some food eventually. And no, Ohio, after yesterday, Romy in Ohio, it wasn't the same buffalo. So yesterday, for those of you who missed the Sunset Safari, we had this extraordinary moment where Dave and myself were following 3 lionesses. They actually caught a buffalo. They jumped on the back of a female buffalo and they injured her back right rump, but they just weren't able to take her down. They just couldn't manage it. Trying to find a nice spot to show you these kudu while I answer Romy's question. So Romy, it definitely isn't the same buffalo. First of all, it's a different area, and second of all, it is a male buffalo apparently. And it just goes to show that extra advantage of 2 extra lionesses that they had this morning as opposed to yesterday afternoon really did them an enormous favour in terms of giving them the advantage of numbers. I don't know whether Brent has chatted a bit about the wind, but there's a very strange weather this afternoon, as is typical of July. And that means that our animal, like the kudu, are feeling that they would feel more comfortable hidden away behind the trees and the leaves. And it's amazing how you actually start to, on these live safaris, you get to start to know individual kudu and individual herds of kudu that hang out in certain areas. They're not territorial, but they do have home ranges, and the home ranges don't necessarily stay the same throughout their lives. But over the passage of 1 or 2 months, you get very familiar with the different herds in an area. In this particular herd, we've been watching their little ones grow up for the last few months, but they're all very hidden, so I think we'll carry on and see what else we can find, because I don't think, no matter where I put us, that we're going to have a good view of them. So it wasn't the same buffalo. The buffalo that we saw the lioness hunting yesterday will be fine. Although she is injured, it's always astounding just how resilient these animals actually are. So she will be absolutely fine. I think that it'll heal up nicely. She might have a bit of a limp for a while. And of course the oxpeckers sitting on it and pecking it won't help. But I don't think it's going to be a mortal wound for her future. And she had a very, very lucky escape. And a big hello to Sherry in Colorado. We know that Brent is making his way at some point back towards that buffalo kill. He can't head there straight off at the start of drive, but he will be going there at some point. And Sherry in Colorado has picked up on the fact that the buffalo that we get in this area, we often see them with skin diseases, whether through mange, through fungus, through what's it called? No, so mange and fungus are sort of the two biggest ones that we're talking about when we see these bald patches on buffalo. Now Sherry's just wondering, in terms of predators eating prey animals, do they ever get that is it transmitted through that kind of contact? And Sherry, it can be, but the animals have a level of resistance. The one thing that will definitely be passed along from prey to predator is diseases like tuberculosis. So most likely all of our buffalo out here, or quite a large percentage of them, and a large percentage of our lions, we know that the sticks, at least one of the sticks females, is showing symptoms of minor tuberculosis. It's a naturally occurring disease, and that does get transmitted between the different animals. So yes, when the animals feed off it, they do run the risk of a transmission of a skin disease, but it's not as common as we might think. They definitely have a level of resistance to it. And of course those skin diseases, when they do get particularly bad, they weaken the animal to the extent that they can actually, or they often are the first target for predators like lions, because they go naturally for the weakest link in a herd structure. Although yesterday was absolutely astounding, because this female, she was probably with those males because she'd already been chased by lions at some point in the not too distant past, and she was just incredibly fortunate that she had the company of those buffalo bulls, because in the end that is what saved her life. I don't think she would have survived that hunt. They caught her, they were on top of her when we saw it all happen in front of us, but I don't think she would have survived if those buffalo bulls hadn't come back to save her. And then they just wouldn't let the lions get in to the female, to the injured female. Particularly one large bull kept charging them and chasing them away. So an extraordinary example of the courage of the animals. Whether or not it was a deliberate protection of the female, or whether it was just that anti-predator behavior, it's up to you to decide. But either way, it made for some extraordinary viewing. It really truly did. And it's one of those things that we will get to see throughout our time on the live safaris. I'm going to concentrate on checking for tracks in this area, just to check the last road that Tingana might have popped out on. And while I do that, let's head back across to Brent and find out what he's up to.
Now, there's a bird we saw on Cheetah Plains, and off it went a few days ago, that I thought I'd catch you all out with, but I was proved what great birders some of our viewers are. There was a brief view there of a yellow-throated petronia, or yellow-throated sparrow. So I just saw where they lost Tingana this morning after we had him in this block. So I'm just going to tell Jamie exactly where. Jamie. Jamie, I saw where Ephraim's off-road tracks were the last place in Tingana. It's about halfway between Impala Plains and the power lines. He was heading east. I didn't see any tracks coming out in Zoe, so it's possible he's still in this block. Here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to loop loop through here and actually check up towards Sydney's waterhole. Now it's another one of his favourite routes as he cuts through here, and elephants or buffalo could have obliterated his tracks during the day. And the weather has been quite strange today. I walked on my way up to lunch, and it was bright, a shining sun. I needed sunglasses, it was so bright. Walked into the kitchen, walked out, and this wall of cloud appeared out of nowhere. And there's a few gaps in it at the moment, but it is getting very chilly quite quickly. Hello. Oh, don't fly, I won't move. Oh, oh, it didn't fly far at least. But it flew to a worse spot with the light. A little Cape Glossy starling. You can barely even see the orange eye in this light. There we go. Brian's doing some camera magic. Oh, we're having quite the birding start to the sunset safari. Now, I think that's how we started the sunrise safari, looking for birds, and we ended up with cats. So maybe we'll just stick to the birds and they'll lead us to the cats. Oh, it's chilly. Now, Justin, who's in New York, is wondering, is Tingana patrolling more because of the arrival of Djuma and even possibly young Sindile? I wouldn't say he's patrolling more than usual, and he's got a very large area to defend. He's basically taken over with some extra the whole of Mvula's territory. So he goes quite far to the north, all the way down to the south. His territory ends probably around the Cheetah Plains camp, and then I know he goes even further south than that, occasionally into Malamala. But he's got a massive area, probably 5,000 or 6,000 hectares he's got to try and defend. And that's why we don't see him for long periods at a time, because he's got to keep moving. Now, not only is there Djuma, Sindile doesn't really pose a threat yet, he's too young, but not only is there Djuma, a very relaxed yellow-billed hornbill. Now, as I was saying, not only is there Djuma, but there's Shivambalan, there's Anderson, there's, I'm sure, some other leopards we don't know about that he's also got to contend with. Look at that. They are funny looking creatures. Anyway, give the beak a bit of a clean. And you can actually see how they use their beak. You can see it's very worn, and the dark stain, off he jumps, around the base of the beak. Here's there. From feeding, that's where that dark stain comes from, and you can see him aggressively attacking that ball of elephant dung, but you can actually see that he's after termites. So the termites are eating the elephant dung, and he's just broken up where they've been eating, and now picking the individual. There he goes, he breaks it open there. Now that's easy work for a hornbill's beak, and having been bitten by a hornbill before, I can guarantee you it is quite painful. Very adept at using their beaks. I think they always look like they're contemplating life. Oh, no termites to eat that. Let's let him continue on his hunt for sustenance. So I just want to double check that Tingana hasn't possibly snuck across Vuyatela access road. Just go very slowly. And nice thing about going slowly on game drive is you do see quite a lot more. Of course, it's fun to speed to a sighting, but while you're looking, it definitely pays to go slower rather than faster. Hi Aaron, and as James told you guys on the Sunrise Safari, Nkuhuma was found near Sydney's dam with an unknown female. Well, she's not unknown, she's an unrelaxed female that comes in very occasionally into Buffalo's Hook from the Manuleti, and as far as I know, the last word is that they both crossed into the Manuleti, and I think it looks like Nkuhuma stole the remnants of a kill from her. So he was just taking advantage of a free meal. Okay, so all these big animal pods here, Tingana has used in the past, so always good to double check them. There's multiple paths that cut through this area. Animal highways. Oh, something flew into my eye there. Got it. Probably the only insect left alive in the drought manages to find my eyeball. I deal with the flying fiends of Djuma. Jamie's got the animal that is actually the emblem for the Sabi Sands Game Reserve.
The emblem of the Sabi Sands is not a tree, but in fact a waterbuck that is hiding behind it. Now Brent's not the only one that's having trouble with a flying insect. I've got a fly that's driving me absolutely batty. It appears to have sort of attached itself to me in a rather determined way, but anyway, it's moved off now, so no, it hasn't. Go away! It keeps going into my mouth. It's so unpleasant. It's of course looking for moisture, but I'd prefer it if it didn't find it in my mouth or in the corners of my eyes. Immediately as I drive up to these water, the air is filled with the scent of them. They've got a very, very particular pungent smell. Oh, cute. Are you playing peekaboo over Mom? How sweet is that? Just a little set of miniature ears and a miniature bottom sticking out. Baby waterbuck, much, much larger than when we first started seeing it in this area. Oh, still looking to suckle. I don't think it's going to have any luck though. I think at its age of a couple of months it will be fully weaned. Staying close behind Mum. As I said, particularly because we're downwind of them, we've got the very strong scent of waterbuck washing over us. And it's a very musky, very, I'm not quite sure how I would describe it. It's quite an oily smell that they exude, and that of course is because it comes from the oil that coats their fur. And there's a story that goes, or a rumor that goes, that it actually makes them inedible, and that the predators don't like them. They don't like the taste of it because of that smell offends them. Absolute nonsense. There is nothing that would stop a pride of lions taking down a waterbuck if they happened upon some, and if they were hungry. There's no evidence to suggest that the smell of waterbuck deters predators in any way. And when you think about what the lions eat, what we've seen them eating, and hyenas and leopards, the quality of their food, when it's sort of 5 days old and it's 40 degrees every single day, or 115 odd Fahrenheit every day, and it starts to go very slimy and very revolting very quickly. If you've seen lions eat that, you cannot possibly stretch your mind to believe that they would be deterred from munching on a waterbuck just because it is slightly pungent. And it's not a horrible smell at all. It really isn't. It's just very animal. It's a very animal smell. That was was not very descriptive, I'm sorry. My olfactory description is clearly not up to par this afternoon. Jandre, what would you say a waterbuck smells like? VM's the best at this game. VM has decided that a must-bull elephant smells like what we call rotten oros. Well, we don't call it rotten oros, we call it oros in South Africa. Go away! Waterbuck looking at me like I'm completely loopy. It just keeps invading my personal space. I'm trying to find you another view of it. It's in my mouth again. Out on my arm. Out on my hand. This is really too much, Fly. This really is too much. Go away. Where's Steph? Where's Steph when I need him? He'll get rid of it for me. Listen, Fly, there's a whole heap of pungent waterbucks not 40 meters away from us. Could you please go there? Genre says I should just do us all a favor and swallow and get rid of it completely next time it's in my mouth. I object strongly. Nobody likes a fly. Nobody likes an irritating fly. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Andre. Here's a view of the waterbuck baby. Jerry, of course, is now telling me not to get sick and not to blame her if I do, which is a bit sort of cheeky, since she brought the disease back into camp with her from leave. But don't worry, Jerry, I won't blame you, and I'm not sick. Andre says you'll blame Jerry. So there we go. The waterbuck with the very strong animal smell, as I described it. Because I really cannot think of any better way of describing it. I need a better description, I suppose. One-day-old buffalo carcass, you think? That was Genre's description. I'm not sure. It doesn't smell sort of rotten meat enough for that. We're just talking about their scent in answer to Mary's question while I attempt to rid myself of this passenger that I have acquired. He's very persistent. Just talking about them. No, Mary, they don't have oily meat. It's an oil that just goes across from basically almost like the equivalent of a waterbuck's preening gland. Sebaceous glands throughout their skin that they secretes the oil and that then flows over their fur, and that's what gives them the smell that they have. It's also what waterproofs them, but it doesn't extend to the meat itself. So their meat is like most venison meats, very, very lacking in fat content. The only animal out here with very, very high fat content is a hippopotamus. Waterbuck are pure muscle underneath a coat of fuzz. And this little one is too sweet. He really is, or she really is. And we started off a couple of months ago seeing these little waterbuck calves left all on their own, away from the mothers. And that is what waterbuck do when they initially have their babies. They hide them away in vegetation and they just leave them. And that is their approach to parenting, which is not necessarily a bad approach. It's just the approach that a lot of the larger antelope species follow. Essentially just leaving them behind so as not to draw attention to them. And they instinctively stay dead still when predators approach. Even to the point that I've occasionally encountered roan and sable babies, and I've been about 5 meters away from them before I've spotted them on foot. Not here, elsewhere, where there's slightly higher concentration of those antelopes. At this age, if it were a boy, it would probably have horns, so it's most likely a female. Most of the little waterbuck male calves are starting to grow the tiniest little points of horns on the tops of their heads. So, and the waterbuck, despite being right next to Treehouse Dam, will have to wait another few months before they can live up to the name waterbuck and spend as much time in the water as they usually do. And that, of course, ties us back into why they're oily in the first place, which is to waterproof their coat. And you know, I'm not sure how it's happened, but somehow the fly has given up. It has abandoned its quest to enter either up my nose or into my mouth, and it seems to have gone away. I'm trying to see if it's on Jandre anywhere. Oh, Jandre says he ate it. He didn't, of course, but if he did, I'd be quite grateful. It's definitely improved the quality of my concentration, but apparently not my smell description. So Brent just updating everybody. Oh, excuse me. Let's try that again. Brent just updating everybody on the Game Drive channel about the fact that he cannot find Tingana, but that he might be going for a little bit of a walk at some point in the block. So we're all obviously very keen to see him, and we are not alone in that regard. We seem to do relatively long stints without spotting Tingana before he returns. I also heard a rumour that Karula might be somewhere in the vicinity, so we're going to be looking for her as well. As always, we're always on the lookout for Karula. Here we go. Jerry. And as I hack away, James Dungan would like to know which trees of the area would help to boost immune systems in order to aid against fighting infections that Jerry's brought back from her leave cycle. Poor Jerry, shame. It's not a very pleasant way to finish off one's holiday. So James, one of the big things would be to try and get hold of, obviously this sort of goes without saying, but you know how we always talk about during flu season, make sure you get plenty of vitamin C, have your oranges and your citrus fruits. The same applies here, and marula fruits would be a very good way forward. Unfortunately for us, marula fruit season is not in the middle of winter, which sort of makes sense. And if you were to go looking for baobab trees, which you do get, not necessarily here, but you do get in a little bit further north, you could go and get some baobab fruit, which also has very, very high contents of vitamin C, which of course is known to boost immune systems. And then there is a bushman's fever tree or fever berry, which is also used to combat, that's more used to combat the symptoms of a cold or a flu. Two little steenbok racing furiously away. Luckily, our cameramen are some of the best in the world, and they have the speed to manage to show you that brief view of two disappearing tan and white bottoms of a steenbok pair that were obviously foraging here. Now, there's a very traditional belief in terms of medication, in terms of plant medication, that a whole host of things can be treated through blood purification. And that was something that Herbert was teaching me about on Bushwalk the other day. Herbert, of course, being a fount of wisdom when it comes to such beliefs and such cures and potions and so on. And he told me all about a tree which is the monkey pod, or one of the senna plants, that is used, that what they do is they take the roots and they make a potion out of the roots combined with a magic guari, and they use that as a way of blood purification. And blood purification is believed to be a way of helping to prevent disease as well as to cure some of them. Now, there's lots of different things that you could use out here. Unfortunately, none of them really are that prevalent on Djuma. Now, there's certainly no marula fruits. There's no baobab for us to go and collect the fruit from. I love baobab fruit. It's one of my favorite fruits out here. I'll just have to make do with the traditional vitamin boosters while I head off. And I'm not sick, by the way, don't worry, I'm not ill at all. Jerry can relax, I'm not going to shout at her. Just coughing. So while we continue on and decide where we're going to go from here, let's head back to Brent, see how his search for Tingana is going.
We've done a big loop around this area and we haven't found any tracks yet of Tingana, so I think we're going to head back towards that last position. I'm just listening to where Ephraim last had him. Sorry, what was that message? Oh, very, very interesting. Copy, thanks. So, it seems like Nkuhuma actually is mating with that female. And he's been seen on the fence line on the entrance road in the Manuleti mating. Copy, thanks F. I'm going to do Impala Road. I've done Zoe's, no tracks. I'm just going to check where you last went in. Maybe he's Lala on a schedule there somewhere. Okay, so there we go. Very interesting. So one of the Cheetah plane's drivers saw Nkuhuma and that female mating next to the fence line. Franklin running off. Copy, thanks. Okay, so Ephraim was just letting me know exactly where he lost Tingana. So we have been in that area. We've done now a first small loop and then a bigger loop, and I'm pretty confident. There haven't been too many ellies around. They haven't trampled any tracks. There haven't been any big herds of buffalo. So there's a strong possibility that he's having a snooze. And you might have heard me say he might be lala on a shedulu. That means he might be sleeping on a termite mound. Shedulu is the Shangaan name for a termite mound. X-Ranger says, for our new Safari Live viewers, what tracks do we like to point out that we see most often, or because they're rare? I think probably lion and leopard are the ones we probably point out the most, because we are quite often looking for them. And then I think we do almost all the tracks. One of my favorite to point out is an aardvark track, because it's very, very distinct and very unusual. This morning we did some honey badger, not honey badger, it was a porcupine track this morning. So it all just depends on the day which tracks we point out. Normally we do a lot more tracks in the early morning, and that means there's been no wind during the day, so the tracks are much more clear, and especially as that sun sort of pops out, it throws a shadow, making them a little bit easier to see. In this type of light, tracks are actually quite difficult to see, and especially with the camera. So when we do tracks, it tends to be on the sunrise safaris, unless we've got a really nice track that's easy enough to see that we can show you. Okay, so we nearly where Ephraim lost Mr. T. Aaron says, oh, Nkuhuma, you just can't keep that old boy down, the legend. Yes, I think you better be careful, because Tingana is not too far. Oh, you silly hornbill. Ooh. Okay, Brian, through that gap. Oh, he's moved. It was a beautiful little chagra. Oh, he's moved a little bit further on. I'm just going to... Don't fly when I start, please. Oh, there. Okay. So he has flown into there. That pile of wood there. Now, oh, there he is. Right at the base. Well done, Brian. Here we go. Little chagra. Ooh. Now, which chagra is it? I haven't had a chance to have a good look. We get two species of chagra here. Oh, there we go. Aha. Now, for our birders out there, this is a nice tough one, because we're only catching glimpses of them. But who can tell me which species of chagra are we looking at here? And if you know the answer, send it through to us on questions@WildEarthTV, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. So let's see how good your birding is today. Oh, yay! Right now we're just saying we really hope the sun comes out. I just want to bask for a second. Oh, so nice. So much warmer. Now, hi Lynn. Lynn in Florida is wondering why some birds hop and others walk. Well, a lot of it's to do with what they feed off, Lynn. So a bird like a chagra, he hops around trying to disturb insects and thickets like that. So that's why they hop. And a bird like an emerald spotted wood dove that eats a lot of grass seeds doesn't need to hop around and rush around to try and get its meal. So that's the main reason. And of course there's various different gaits and types of hopping and moving between the different birds depending on how and what they feed on. So nice to have the sun at my back warming me. It was getting quite chilly. I was even thinking about putting on my other jacket not so long ago. So apparently, quite a few of you are wondering how I got bitten by a hornbill. Now, isn't that a story? Well, it's not that exciting. A hornbill actually flew into the window and stunned itself, and I picked it up and tried to revive it, and when it woke up, it wasn't so impressed, so it mauled me. And fortunately didn't draw blood, but they are capable of. But I was moving it so it didn't fly back into the window again. Now, hornbills can get very aggressive with windows, and it actually happens at our house every now and then. If the light hits the window at the right angle, it becomes a mirror, and the hornbill sits there and sees competition in the mirror, so it attacks this bird, but just won't go away, and it's in its space. That's quite why we'll keep our curtains closed during the day, especially in the early morning, and that's when that glint seems to really attract the hornbills to bash on at the window. Now I just saw a little plant I want to pick up here, and it's quite a cool plant, especially because it gets dark a bit earlier, so we might even get to do a little demonstration later. You're going to have to remind me after dark. I have to pluck it. There we go. That should be enough. I'll pop it on the dash so Brian can show it to you. There we go. So that is a wild Franklin. That is wild cotton. Now if we have a look at it, now it's been used by lots of people over the years to do lots of things. So it's used to stuff pillows, mattresses, and of course what happens is you remove all the fluffy bits, you keep the fluff, and there you can see there we go. There's actually a little seed in there. Let me get my knife. And I'm going to just take that seed. Oh, it's a strong seed. Actually, I'm going to do it on something a bit harder so I don't put a hole in the car. Do it on the top of my box. Oh, come back. Actually, I think I'm going to go for the crush option rather than the cut option. Probably a little bit easier, one would think. There we go. There we go. So we've cut the seed in half now. And you can see, I'm just going to clear some of the fluff out of the way. And can you see on the inside there, Brian? You see that little white there. Now, the original sort of Dutch settlers here would collect these seeds, crush them up and get that white center out, and it can be used as a gunpowder replacement. So it's highly flammable and very, very fascinating. So a very useful plant for the early settlers in Africa, and of course also for the native indigenous people. It's got a few medicinal uses, but mostly used as a sort of gunpowder replacement when they run out of gunpowder, or for stuffing pillows and mattresses for a bit more comfort. But now you don't find too much of it around the place, so sometimes it's going to take about 5 years to stuff a pillow collecting wild cotton. Okay, so I think we've got some answers in for the bird quiz. Well done to Stuart, Virginia and Tay. You got it right. It was a brown-crowned changra. Now I'm going to show you the difference. Is black-crowned that way? No, that's a southern brown-crowned, black-crowned. So you can see that very distinct black head, but also the grey underparts. And if we go forward again, it had the black head. It had a little red, a black head, and the black and white is not quite as, well, the white's more pronounced than the black in the brown-crowned changra. Here we go. Well done, guys. We've just arrived in the area where Nana was last seen. There we go. Have a look up there, Brian. You see it? There we go. We've got a big bird of prey in the distance. It's a white-backed vulture. I thought for a second it might be dropping, but it's not. It's just cruising past. So when they drop, they really drop like a stone almost, fold their wings and dive down. So I'm about to go take a little walk, see if I can find Tingana in the bush here. And while we do that, let's go see what Jamie's up to on the other side of Djuma.
Oh, well, Brent goes for a little bit of a walk to see what he can find. We don't need to, because something has found us. And I'm just, obviously, some of you are picked up on whatever's happening there. I'm going to try and see, what have we got here? What have we acquired there, Gendre?
I can't focus on it.
Of course you can't. Gendre has a bug on his screen, and I'm attempting to find something to pluck it off without doing any kind of damage to the screen itself. So prepare everybody for a slight headache as I go and attempt to pick this up. What are you? I don't want to touch the screen. I think Gendre will kill me.
No, it's okay. I can clean it.
You can clean it. Gendre says he can clean it. Sorry everybody for what must feel very invasive. Oh, it's gone.
Aww.
Oh no.
Aww.
It flew away. Whatever it was. It sort of looked like a termite with wings. It was definitely not a termite, but that's roughly what it looked like. Oh, I was going to closely examine it and tell you what it was, but it has vanished. My apologies. Oh well, at least you can see now without a spot on your screen. Oh, it just goes to show sometimes things come to us. We're not too far away from Buffelshoek Dam, and we're going to do a quick loop of that area. We're not going into the sighting of where the cubs were seen this morning for a very good reason, and that is the biggest one, is that they are too young and the mother is not there. So we won't be going there. It is a closed leopard tracks, very fresh leopard tracks. Look, everybody look, she's here somewhere. I just smelt her. There's a steenbokkie. Look at these beauties. Oh, I say they're very fresh. Who was tracking here this morning? Somebody circled them already. Sorry guys, I'm going to try to pull over so you can see. Can you see that circle there, Jean-Andre? Oh, I'm a bit too close. There we go. Somebody's been tracking Karula. But I just smelt leopard territory spray. Well, I suppose the smell does linger for a little bit. But somebody's feet, Brent's feet, those are Brent's tracks wandering around. Did Brent do a track segment on Drakensberg Road with leopard tracks? Because this is very interesting. She was striding forward. Okay. And she's gone in to the block around Gwari Pan. Oof, it's a difficult area. Let us go investigate. I say Karula, I obviously have no idea whether or not it is Karula. But, that being said, chances are in this area, the fact that it's a female's tracks, it is probably her. Alright, well that changes the game a little bit. Certainly changes our route. Let's go and see if we can't pick up any sign of her on Gwari Pan Road. Stations, these Nkuhuma form Fuzzy Ingwe on Drakensberg Road between Central and Gwari Pan. Were they called in this morning? From the Nkuhuma form Fuzzy Ingwe on Drakensberg Road, cutting into the block between Central and Gwari Pan. Okay, copy that, thank you. Well, Ephraim says that those tracks crossed on Pipeline Road to the east. That must have been she went in like this, and then that's obviously why I had to call in that on the Game Drive channel, to rather than to waste too much time searching, to actually go and investigate. It's a good idea just to get an update in terms of what the guides have found this morning. I just want to go and double. Oh yes, her tracks are back on here. Oh, how terribly sad. I got so excited. I thought that Karula was going to be somewhere here, but her tracks have come back onto the road. She obviously just cut the corner. So her tracks back on, and now I think I'll be able to find a nice spot for me to show them to you. Oh, there we go. So we have an answer from Crystal. Thank you very much. Brent and I think he forgot to mention, he did say that he thought Karula was somewhere around here. But Crystal has sent through the update that Brent tracked her backwards and forwards until last she heard she was disappearing off onto Torchwood, or her tracks were walking off onto Torchwood. Thank you so much, Crystal. Very much appreciated. Now, we're not going to... It just means we don't spend too much time tracking an animal that has actually left our property. So Torchwood, for those of you who are new, it's a property that lies to the east of our boundary, and it is not within our area of traverse, so we can't go there. And we can't follow her in that direction, which means we have to leave it to the others to hopefully find us for her, or keep an eye on her movements and let us know whether or not she's on her way back to this area. Oh, I got so excited. I was really hoping that we might have a Karula sighting. Lots of hyena tracks as well around here, which I'm sure They're not fresh, but they have been around and about, which is again a dangerous thing for our little lion cubs that are hiding in the drainage line over here. And there we go, we've actually got a question from James Dungan on that very subject, which is, in terms of, do we have a lack of hyena sightings because they have booked out due to the high concentration of leopard and lion cubs? There is definitely a potential argument in terms of the almost constant presence of the lionesses in this area, the Nkuhumas in this area. They've been clearly planning on denning around here for weeks and weeks, that we've just been seeing them more often than we usually do on Djuma, or at least more frequently on Djuma. Now James, I think you're right. I think it has to do with the lion population, or the current area of their home range that they are utilizing. I think that might have been why they've moved their den sites further to the west of our Traverse area. So that's what I think has happened there. Leopard cubs probably make less of an impact, but then we've already speculated, and I think we're all convinced in our own minds that the reason that Karula hasn't denned in her usual spots close to the lodge itself, or didn't den with this set of cubs, was due to a high concentration of hyenas. So the hyenas are around. I think they're on Simbambili, but we don't know with 100% certainty. Jandre tells me that she wasn't around the Galago shortcut den when they went to check this morning. She has not been around. The one new mother hasn't been around there for the last 3 days, which does make me wonder whether or not she has decided to move the cubs somewhere. So we'll check the Mbubu Road den, I think, today. There's still lots of hyena tracks around, so it doesn't necessarily mean that she's gone for good, but she might have decided that her cubs are now old enough and strong enough, not that they're very old or very strong just yet, but they're definitely more robust than they were 2 weeks ago. She might have just decided that it's time to move them to the rest of the safety of the clan. Not 100% sure. Oh, we're coming up to Buffelshoek Dam. Well, I keep an eye out for hyena tracks in the den sites. I'm with Chris Rogue as well on this. Chris Rogue is one of our very long-term viewers, and she's very much hoping to see one of the hyenas like Madam, the matriarch of the clan, soon. I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. I do feel like it's been a really long time since we have had a proper sighting with them. And that's just, I think, because they have moved their den site. But Chris, I saw lots and lots of little tracks. Not little tracks, but sort of half-sized tracks that could easily have belonged to the sub-adults, or to the November, December, January twins. Just pulling up to Buffelshoek Dam to do a quick check for any tawny figures that are lying up in the shade, perhaps came to have a drink. No tawny figures here, apart from one very large, very brown shape at the back there. Our now almost ever-present hippo, that very, very soon is going to have to start thinking about and finding a new place to go and spend its days. Also 2 Egyptian geese that we regularly see at Buffelshoek Dam. And as you can see, the mud at the top, well, pretty much now covering most of Buffelshoek Dam. Buffelshoek Dam is drying up very, very quickly. What date are we? Where are we in July? 10th-ish? Oh, there we go. It's the 11th of July. So it's the 11th of July now. My bet will be that this dam will be completely dry by the end of July, would be my guess. There's actually a catfish as well. There's a catfish sort of flopping about on the left side there. If we go a little bit to the left, where there's if we go up a little bit. Sorry, Jandre, I know you couldn't see it. If we go up, okay, a little bit to the right. I saw a catfish moving around there, exactly where you are. There it is. There we go, we've got that motion there. Or is that a terrapin? I think it's a catfish. It's quite hard to see in this light. It's very tricky to see in this light. Oh, it's terrapin. That's definitely not a... Or is it?
No, terrapin.
It's a terrapin. No, it's a terrapin. Can't see. Okay. I was going to say I'm quite surprised. I hadn't seen any evidence of catfish back in Buffelshoek Dam since they all died off a couple of months ago. And while we watch our sort of clear example in which the drought impacts the various species of this reserve, Gary, in Durban, you want to know how does the drought affect the birds of this area. Well, one thing I will tell you, Jeffrey, is that this year was, for me, I was very surprised by the lack of bird life. As we watch our Cape turtle dove trying to find itself a drink. So all of the migratory species, a lot of the migratory species, didn't actually spend all that much time in this northern Sabi sand. I know that my friend who works probably about 70 odd kilometers away in a straight line, but closer towards the Drakensberg Mountains, they had more rain and therefore they had more bird life. So a lot of the birds like the cuckoos, oh that's awesome, Andre. A lot of the birds like the cuckoos and the other species actually moved away to where there was higher insect concentrations as a result of a little bit more rain. The birds are fortunate. They've got wings. They'll be able to be much more resilient. But for things like the seed eaters, the insect eaters, it is going to get more difficult. And I think they're going to struggle to raise chicks as successfully. They might, a lot of the birds have 2 sets of chicks in a breeding season. And I think a lot of them are going to be limited to at least to 1 set of chicks rather this year. Our fish eagle still pays a visit every now and again to Buffelshoek, sorry, not to Buffelshoek Dam, to Arathusa Dam, but that is slowly disappearing as well. It will mean for us just a smaller variety of bird species that we see. They'll be fine, they'll go and find different water sources, but it means that we won't see as many to add to our bird lists. It's baboon tracks, not karula tracks. Let's do a quick loop in the area, just fingers crossed that Karula might have decided to come back. We can but hope that she has decided to move back into this area, although that being said, we don't really want her to stay in such close proximity to the lion cubs either. First of all, she is a threat to them. It's a small chance, but there is a chance that she could be a threat. Secondly, when the adults come back, they're definitely not going to take kindly to her presence in this area. And speaking of bird life, there's a very angry oriole in here that I'm going to try and find for you. Whew! Try and spot a bright yellow bird in a whole load of dead yellow leaves. Aha! He's at the top left-hand side of the torchwood genre, in that little gap. I'll direct you in. Sort of left-hand side. Further to left and up a little bit. There he is. Perfect, thank you. You can hear him, just listen to the sounds he's making. Can you hear that? The second oriole call, definitely not nearly as pretty as the main whistling sound that they produce. It's a lot harsher. He was calling to another one, but I don't know where the other one is. Stopped responding to it. Might be a little bit of a territorial battle, or it might just be contact calls between a mated pair of orioles. Okay, let's go check that Karula hasn't come back to us. I'm really hoping that she has. maybe somewhere in this block. Having just moved away from Buffelshoek Dam, bear with me, I'm going to be concentrating quite hard on making sure that Karula's tracks don't come onto this road, and it's quite a tricky road to spot tracks on, so I'm not going to be looking back at you all that frequently. But while I double check, having moved away from our hippo sighting, Rich in Ottawa, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You were wondering whether or not, because we're seeing this disappearing dam, whether hippos migrate, and that you imagine that it would be quite a laboriously slow process if they did. They don't migrate, although they can move, and they do have a good 4 million hectares worth of 8.5 million acres of unfenced conservation area that they can move about in. That being said, it's a long distance for them to travel, and they don't necessarily know where there is other water. So they're not migratory species in this area. They do move between different water points where there's more water than others, but they don't necessarily know to go. With our hippo, for example, they don't know to go all the south to the Sabi or the Sand River. They've been brought here by the presence of artificial dams, and as a result, now that we go into this drought season without being able to fill the dam sites themselves, they are not going to be able to survive. But Rich, it's not necessarily the loss of the water, although that will contribute tremendously. Hippo are really struggling at the moment to meet nutritional needs, and that applies throughout most of the central and southern parts of Kruger and their surrounding reserves, which is where it's going to be a very, very difficult time for the hippo, and we're going to see some incredibly tragic scenes over the next few months, as because they are bulk grazers, they're not equipped to deal with any other kind of diet, and there is just nothing for them to eat. And to make that trip that they would need to make, I think I see a lion. To make that trip that they would need to make would put tremendous stress on their bodies. Am I crazy? I might be. Do you see it, Chandra? I don't see it either now. Right. Well, it was a happy thought, but I think I don't even know where I saw it now. Oh no, not another lion log. It's becoming far too much of a pattern. Well, I attempt to redeem myself and just double check that this is not in fact a lion and is in fact a log. No, it's a log. Oh, that's embarrassing. I wish I hadn't realized that before sending you back over to Brent, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you back over to Brent. I'm going to gloss over the fact that that's another lion log, and I'm going to send you over so he can find out, or no, so he can tell you how his walk went.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't find Mr. Tingana while I was walking. I did find a couple of his tracks. I think there's a very good chance he's going to pop out around the Djuma Dam camp at some point this evening, and or at the Gallagher, around camp. So I think it's a good idea to check that area a bit later on the Sunset Safari. We are very slowly making our way towards Nkuhuma Pride, who are still on that buffalo kill. I'm going to go check around Red Dam first. And we did have that hippo there this morning. It could be interesting to see elephants. And it seems like the Eddies moved away. I mean, we're not seeing as many as we were a couple of weeks ago. But they do move in cycles, so they should be back at some point. Well, a massive Safari Live welcome to Lana. Welcome to the family. Lana is a brand new viewer. She says, this is so amazing. I didn't realize it was on YouTube. We are, Lana, 365 days of the year, 6 hours a day. From, at the moment, 6:30 a.m. Central African Time to 9:30 a.m. Central African Time. And then again in the evening from, what time? 3 p.m. Central African Time to 6 p.m. Central African Time. And as Lana, you can see, we're live and interactive. So send us some questions if you're wondering about anything out here. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like there are any elephants. But we've got some birdies. And I like my birdies. And there's a particularly noisy birdie there called the blacksmith lapwing. And they get their name from the fact that when they call, they sound like a blacksmith hammer tinking away. And we can hear some very, very loud hornbills in the background. Now, the blacksmith lapwing, you will only really find them around water. If you find them away from water, they're probably flying on their way to water. So, the other lapwings we get here tend to be more on the open plains. There are a couple of water-based lapwing species. The blacksmith, the long-toed, and the white-crowned are all very, very much water-dependent species. As I said, you can hear that. And I'm just going to up in the tree. There's a red-billed hornbill. We had a very nice view of a yellow-billed hornbill earlier. Well, do you want me to go back, Brian? Move back a little bit. Here we go. Making lots of noise. Yeah, a red-billed hornbill. So that's the second hornbill species we've seen on this sunset safari. Now Roger's wondering, are they related to the toucan? I think the toucan is a type of hornbill, but not a direct relation to our African hornbills. I think they've evolved separately. Yeah, doing a bit of preening, making sure it looks good for the ladies. And a lot of that calling is, oh, I heard something there. Not sure what that was. We'll just have to keep listening out. There we go. Let's leave the hornbill while he preens away. We're going to keep meandering through, see what else we can find. And I can hear another bird, but he's right in the direct sunlight, so we're not going to stop for him just yet. It's a grey go-away bird. You hear him saying, "Come on, come on." Probably one of the least attractive calls we hear regularly out here in the African bush is that of the grey go-away bird. Now apparently there's a lion or a lioness, Geraldine, on the Djuma Dam Cam, because one has a mane, one hasn't. There we go, a lioness. Hopefully Jamie's close by. It's very, very possibly the mother of those cubs we saw. So hopefully jet there and maybe to see the greeting with the cubs. So we're going to stay. I think Jamie's a bit closer than that. I'm going to stay on Arathusa. And here we go. There's the grey go-away bird going. What? Oh dear. Radio problems. Oh, that's fine. Sing. Back off patiently. So you can see it's eating some leaves. Normally they prefer to eat fruit. Eating fruit, I do apologize. No, it's not eating fruit. What is it eating? Eating new little fresh leaves from a knobthorn tree. And now, Normally they prefer to eat fruit. There's no fruit around in the winter, and we're in a drought. Complaining much about the lack or the quality of food that's around. One, two, no. One, no. I'm having some my radio. Strange. Yeah, I think I fixed it. That Lioness while James is on her way there.
Hey! And how exciting is this, everybody? There is a Lioness drinking at the Djuma Dam Pan, and we are racing there as we speak. Unfortunately, I'm about to go through a black hole signal-wise. I've just realized where I am. I'm closer than I thought I was. I'm on my way to her, and we are going to signal in the next 10 seconds as we go down into this dip. Turn. Towards us, and we can almost guarantee that it's one of the Nkuhuma. I would. Okay, well, the perfect thing about this situation is we are coming from one side, the Lioness is coming to meet us, and we should have visual of her in the next, I would say, the next minute or so. And we can almost guarantee, was what I was saying earlier, that this is one of the mothers of the cubs, and she might be heading straight back there, having filled her belly for now, heading straight back towards the cubs to go and feed them. It'll be really, really interesting for us to know which route she takes. Which direct line. I think she's going to lose us in the drainage line systems, but I think that we'll find her again on the other side. We should. Hello, Zebada. Don't worry. Actually, do worry. There's a lioness coming, but she's probably not going to try and hunt you. Okay, we should be coming around the corner now. We've been zooming south along Gowrie Cut Line, for those of you familiar with the area, and we should encounter her in the next few moments coming out on the dam wall on the side. And as I said, we can almost guarantee that she is going to be coming straight towards the cubs. Now if she goes over the dam wall now, then we'll know that she's going to pop out here. Okay. be here somewhere. She's coming. Oh. Hello, big girl. Surprise! You go feed your little ones. And she's going to come past us on her way. She's terribly smelly. She's definitely been feeding on a carcass. Here she goes. Taxon's also got this update as well. I'm just going to call this in. Stations, I've got her here. She's mobile. She's crossed the dam now. She's now mobile northeast. I think going straight back towards the Mpimpans and Buffelsdam. That's affirmative. I'm going to stay with her. Copy. I'm sure she's going to pop out on Gari cut line shortly. So, which route is our lioness going to take? All of the lionesses follow the same path when they cut this corner. They then either go north up Gari cut line, which is what I'm hoping she's going to do, so that we've got her on the road for the majority of the sighting, or she's going to cross the Mulwati drainage line. Look at that belly flapping side to side. Oh, a slight thorn on the foot. And hello to Ryan, who is a new viewer watching in Durban as our lioness cleans off her foot. Let's go catch up with her, and while we do this we can answer Ryan's question. Ryan apparently is thrilled to have found this live drive, and we're thrilled you found us, Ryan. We're on every day, twice a day, and since you're in Durban I can quite happily tell you times without fear of mistake. We are on at 6:30 in the morning till 9:30 in the morning, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 6, until of course the seasons change a little bit. But that is our regular time slot. Now you want to know about how many lion prides we have in this area. The answer is, Ryan, we have 2 main lion prides we see regularly, or I would say we see regularly, but we are of course in the Sabi Sands, and this area is one of the highest lion concentrations anywhere in Africa. Let's just stop here. She's seen zebra. She's seen the zebra that we saw earlier. She's not really interested in hunting them. She's just keeping an eye on them. Oh, she's got such a strange walk. Very full-bellied. Uncomfortable. It's not a limp. Okay, let's carry on. Ryan, we've got the Nkuhuma and the Styx prides. They are the ones that are regularly in our traverse area. But, that being said, there are always prides coming and going, particularly with tumultuous moments that we've had over the last few months, and that's because a coalition of male lions called the Birmingham Boys came in and took over about a year ago, and the resultant chaos meant that we saw lion prides that might not usually have been in this area. The Salalas, for example, all the way coming up from Londolozi. Everybody watch heads. Everybody duck. I'm going to get onto the road. We'll find her there. I'm just going to stop. The zebra have spotted her and they're galloping off, but I don't want to add to their stress levels. So we're going to let them just move ahead, because her instinct is going to be triggered by their running motion. She might even thinking about a half-hearted hunting attempt, although I doubt it. She's watching intently, but she's still walking. She has been spotted. I don't think she's going to be bothered there. So Ryan, we've also got the Tsalala pride the Mangeni pride or the Tsalala breakaway pride, the fantastic Shimungwes that are some of my favourite lions. Here, the road's just ahead of us. Some of my favourite lions, just because they're the underdogs. And then, of course, the Coalition of Birmingham Boys, which is a group of 5 young male lions that entered onto the, or was a group of 5 male lions that entered onto the scene a year ago. It's now 4. One of them died of natural causes. Let's just watch this scenario play out. Zebra racing off. A lioness about to hop out onto the road. Bernie, she's just come onto Gari Cut line now. I'm going to see if she's going to continue mobile north or if she's going to go into the drainage line here. It's one Mufazza. She's on her way back towards Buffelshoek Dam, I think. Here we go. There's at least 2 on their way. I know Taxon was on his way. I'm not sure whether Ephraim is on his way as well. But I know that there were at least 2 vehicles responding. Okay, she's just gone mobile into the drainage line here to the east of Gari Cut line. I'm not going to be able to follow her, I don't think, but I'm sure she's making her way straight towards Buffelshoek Dam. Affirmative tax. If you do that, I'll take Central and then Hyena Road. I'll see if I can catch her there. Oh dear. Okay. We cannot go in there, guys. There's no point to us going in through there. Sorry, everybody. I do need to be on the Game Drive channel. Tax is trying to contact me. We can't go in there. We won't have signal. We can't follow her there. Tax, I wasn't mobile this morning. I heard reports that there were around that drainage line system to the east of Buffelshoek Dam, but I'm not 100% sure. Copy. I think she will come out at some Buffelshoek cut line. Okay, guys. Well, we go and catch up with our lioness. We are going to catch up, and we follow her to Buffelshoek Dam at least. Let us head back across to Brent, find out what we're up to.
Very exciting. Maybe we're going to get a chance to see those little cubbies or even the babies. Not sure which mummy it is. They're very, very exciting. And I just heard a story that apparently Karula has left her cubs on the Cheetah deck. And I'm not sure if it's Karula. It could be Tundi. Maybe Tundi's given birth. So we'll have to wait to hear more on what's happening there. Now, we're on first standby for the lions, so I'm just going very slowly back towards that area. And wasn't it incredible that Tingana was right there, no more than 50 meters from the lion this morning, while they were feeding on that buffalo carcass. Now, that's not usual behavior. I've often had go inspect lion kills, and lions make all that. They have to sneak up and have a quick look, and then sneak off. Now, it's really interesting. Now, I'm fascinated as how far lions might have pulled that buffalo, moved that buffalo, because I was sort of expecting to see vultures in a lot of the trees around here. By this time, it's been sunny most of the day, and I don't see any. Maybe they're down closer to the carcass, and we'll find out. Maybe the lions have moved the carcass further into the shade, or maybe there's another kill that the lions are all feasting upon somewhere else. Oh, the vultures, sorry, are feasting on. Let's check through here. I still don't see any vultures. Where is that? That's the first bird, very pretty little bird. Let's see if we can spot it. Little too. Sometimes they don't fly too far. Oh, I can hear another bird, but that's way up in the sky flying over us. Now I wonder where Shadow is. I wonder where her cub is. I've got a suspicion they're still south there at Hoffman. But fingers crossed he brings the little cub back for another visit. I'd love to see it again after late excitement when we saw it for the first time on No Wild Father's Day weekend. Hi Lana, great to have you asking questions. And Lana's wondering what is a drainage line. Now, the South African term that we use, a South African is a South African. A drainage line or a donga is basically a little dry riverbed or dry creek bed is probably a better word. Now, I've been dying to try out a new toy for a while, and I've got it here now. So we're gonna give it a test. Should we? Shall we? Yes, I think we shall. So, and especially since we've got a few new viewers around, and just to show you where we are and what's going on. Should I put us in the shade, Brian? Will that be better for the screen? Okay, let's do that now. I'm just gonna park our vehicle in the shade a little bit. Where there's not much shade available. Maybe I'll just turn us like that. Get that, use trees behind us. There we go. Okay. So I actually went and took a screenshot from Google Earth, and it's waking up